Hi, Wolfpack fans. I'm Jeff Gravely.
I'm Tony Haynes.
And I'm Matt Chaz now.
And this is Pulse of the Pack. What's up, Pack fans? Welcome into the Inside NC State Athletics podcast powered by PNC Bank. My name is Jeff Gravely, along with the voice of the Wolfpack, Matt Chazanow, and we are recording today in Reynolds Coliseum, the historic Reynolds Coliseum. Why? Because it's either happy birthday or happy anniversary. December 2nd, 1949, the first ever game played in Reynolds Coliseum. NC State beat Washington and Lee. Vic Bubas scored the first basket in Reynolds Coliseum. And it's just always a majestic place, a historic place to come in. And you have broadcast a game here before.
The first game I ever did was I was right there, right behind us. This place is really special. I was so scared. I've said it a million times, but that's my enduring thought. It was this incredibly special. It was special to me, even more special in retrospect that I'm still here doing it, and we're here and we're back. And I've always loved it, and it's always been that first place I ever was. And I didn't, dumb luck. I was with High Point. They just happened to have the Pack on the schedule, and it wasn't K-Yow Court yet. Right. And the lights were more yellow, and there were seats where the museum is, if you will, right now. And I remember all of it vividly. And I got lost when I was going to the back. I was down in the bowels of Reynolds, and I didn't know where to go. And I was trying to find the restroom, and I was scared to death, and a young kid. And no, this place is personally very special for different reasons than many Pack fans, I'm sure, because it's selfish to me with the anecdote I'm relaying, but it's a really cool spot.
So you got to broadcast a K-Yow game in one of your first ones. That's pretty neat.
First time. I was stuck in traffic. Team bus got stuck in traffic, and I had to hook up all my stuff, and the stress involved in that. And so not to derail this podcast this Reynolds Coliseum, first place I ever broadcast a game.
So you just traveled with the men's basketball team out to San Diego, other than the travel issues that you guys had going out there. Basketball-wise, what did you witness? What did you like? What needs some work after two losses?
Yeah, two losses to two teams that could each win their leagues. And for BYU's not picked to beat Kansas. If they do, and I think they did last year in the Fog, if I'm not mistaken, if they do win the Big 12, it will be because you look back and you say they have a top 5 overall draft pick at point guard. They have maybe more NIL than any team in America.
That blows me away.
Yep. And they shoot the three really well. They also have Utah's big man from last year who transferred over. Kid Traore they've got, is a fourth-year player there, I think, and he's been there and been effective a long time. So BYU's good is what I'm saying. Purdue could win the Big Ten. There'd be no surprise. So I think the Pack ran into two teams, one of whom Purdue has its act together and has had continuity. They have no transfers, which is an interesting way to do it. They're kind of like Clemson on the football side of the Big Ten, for better and worse. They had transfers last year. They lost Mason Gillis to Duke from the portal. So it's not like they've been unaffected, but just so happens they have a lot of continuity. And what I'm saying is after the Purdue game, Coach Keats came back and said he wasn't happy to lose. He lost by 10, and he wanted to beat the Boilermakers, but you could see a little bit of a quiet confidence about him where he said, you know what, I think we could have won that game. And that was a really good Purdue team, and it was an NC State effort that probably wasn't NC State's best punch.
Right.
And it was only a 10-point loss. And I say only because they did not shoot the ball well at all, and some guys didn't get going in that ball game. And he was very upset about the offensive rebounding. We need to talk about that. The other team's offensive rebounding. That was the issue against BYU. And that is a problem. And Coach Keats was not happy about that. And he wants to see that not just from the bigs. Mm-hmm. That's not a Brandon Huntley, Hatfield, Ben Middlebrooks problem, although they affect it and they're part of the team also. He wants the guards to block out. You and I and Tony have talked at length about this NC State basketball season is going to take some time. This is not ready to go right out of the box. Mike James is still banged up. Dennis Parker Jr. has been banged up. Trey Parker's figuring it out defensively, especially initially. He can clearly score it.
61 points in each game. They need to score more points, and there were reasons why they didn't score more points. That was an issue that I believe he had in both of those games. Not enough opportunities and not enough points. Pulse of the Pack is sponsored in part by Coca-Cola. Crisp, refreshing, and irresistibly tasty. Is Coke Zero Sugar the best Coke ever? Try and decide.
It's the Get Holiday Ready sales event with the Ford crew.
Maverick, Ranger.
Another truckload of trucks?
Big event needs a big selection. Right, like the Ford F-Series. Best-selling trucks for 47 years. Gas, hybrid, electric, and big selection means great deals. Exactly, which means it's the best time to buy. Well said, Sam.
Get 1.9 for $60 plus up to $6,500 total savings on a 2024 Ford F-150 hybrid.
All right, Mr. Wolf, you're all set. Complete perimeter protection installed and monitored 24/7.
No matter who you root for, we can all identify with the best in smart home security. CPI Security is the official security and smart home company of NC State Athletics. CPI Security. Identify yourself.
From protecting your teeth and gums, to restoring your smile, to sponsoring your local team, Tar Heel Periodontics is the premier periodontal practice of the Triangle community. Our team of highly skilled doctors provide dental care as individual as you are, working with you to build a personalized treatment plan to create the beautiful, healthy smile of your dreams. With offices conveniently located across the Triangle and Central North Carolina, you're never far from the Tar Heel Periodontics family. Visit our website or call now.
This segment of Pulse of the Pack is presented by Coca-Cola.
All right, we will get to basketball here. Out in San Diego, NC State facing a really good competition, a couple of losses, one to Purdue and then BYU. But is it fair to say, Kevin, that you learn a lot about where your team is right now and where it needs to go when you face that type of competition?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I never take away from any team that wins. Both Purdue and BYU did a great job and they won the game. But there are a lot of things that we can grow from and get better. I didn't think in the entire weekend, I didn't think we did a good job of finishing possessions with, defensive rebounds so we can get out in transition. So I thought our transition suffered a little bit because we gave up so many offensive rebounds and we're not able to get out. And when you think about it, you look at it, I'd be surprised if there are a lot of teams that will hold Purdue and both BYU to 71 and 72 points a game because of the way they shoot the ball. Unfortunately, we didn't score a lot of points this weekend.
Were you hardened in some way that you didn't play great, like you said, but you were really right in it late with, Purdue had a stretch in the second half. It was a 1-point game at halftime. But then you played better at least late in the second half against BYU. I know you weren't happy with it out at halftime, but you're going, all right, there's a lot of meat on the bone here. Like, this is a team that can get a lot better and lost by 10 to a couple of really good ball clubs.
Well, we scheduled that way. We knew that Purdue, obviously, they lost Edey, but we knew that they would have the core of their group back. And we asked for the Purdue game first in the tournament, and anything happens in the second one. And so we knew coming in that, we were going to play a tough schedule. When you look at it, we knew we ended up knowing we were going to get Texas. We knew we were going to go to Kansas. We knew we were going to play Purdue. And so those were all scheduled, with the mindset that we want to beef it up. And we knew it's going to be early, and we knew we were going to go through some growing pains because we got 8 new guys. And when you look at losing Mo Diarra, losing Casey Morcell, losing both DJs, we knew we were going to have some time. It's going to take some time. We never, before the year, we never promised that, hey, we're going to be a machine at the beginning. If this team, the last year's team taught anybody anything, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And when you get in those tournament situations, especially early because you're still learning a lot about your team, it's hard to go from a loss to turning them around in one day early in the season. You can do that late in the season, but early in the season is tough, and you're already there. And so now you're trying to figure out how to get them better the next game, and it typically doesn't work that way,
Hard to hold Purdue and BYU each to 60. And so you're holding them to 71 and 72 respectively. That's okay. That's not a huge problem. 61's not enough. And in part, the getting to 70 was just rebounding. The defense was good. The offensive rebounds they allowed, there were too many of them. He was not happy about that.
I hesitate to use this phrase, an experimental time, because on this court right here, back in 1986, I interviewed Jim Valvano. Now, I'm just a snotty-nosed kid out of college, and they sent me over here. They were getting ready to play Duquesne. Coach V and NC State couldn't figure out what lineups they wanted to use, and I said, Coach, against Duquesne, is this an opportunity where you can experiment a little bit with your lineup? Against Duquesne? Are you kidding me? You obviously haven't done your homework. They got one of the greatest programs in the country, and you come over here asking me if we're going to experiment against Duquesne. Are you kidding me? Who sent you over here, by the way? And he's just giving me the business, and I'm shrinking in my chair. And I always say, I'm just kidding with you.
No, that's great.
So when I wrote that word down again, I had the V flashback. But is NC State currently in an experimental stage where you see a guy like a Trey Parker earn his opportunity to start as opposed to coming off the bench?
Some teams in the ACC have joked at times, and their coaches have said this publicly, but I have heard coaches say, we have a rotation of 4. We just happen to play 6 or 7. You know, it starts to get really tight because they know what they want to do very specifically. Now, I don't know if it'll be that narrow for the Pac this year, but you're not going to play 12 in March. So what gives? And that process is a little bit of, let's see what happens in front of the bright lights.
Well, you know, now they've already played 2 really good teams in BYU and Purdue, and then this week they play host Texas, and then they jump into ACC play against Florida State. And Coach talked about he's glad to have some of these really big tests early on. We haven't even gotten to the Kansas situation where they'll go and play there, but it's going to take a little time with a team with so many moving new parts, but he does like the fact that they're playing tougher competition, and he felt like that would help prepare them for later on down the road.
What a great football game, Coach. Were you able to catch it?
I did catch some of the ending of it in the great football. I thought our guys, did a great job in a situation where, both teams were scoring. It was going back and forth. Very good football game. I tell you what at the end by Bailey, and what a great throw and an unbelievable catch. And I try to figure out which one was better. I was like, all right, was it the catch that made the play or was it the throw? And I think when you look at it, it was both equally impressive.
Coach, have you ever met C.J. Bailey?
I have not met C.J. at this point yet, and seems like a tremendous young man, and obviously he got great size, so we may need to talk to him.
That's where it was going. I knew he was going.
He looks like a basketball player. But Chaz asked him that question on the radio show earlier.
I did. He said he was football. He said he's been football. He said, he messed around a little bit with hoops, but he said he's always been working on his ball release and football release and all that stuff. Quick release.
That guy probably needs to stick to football, and he's got an unbelievable future there. I have no idea what type of basketball player he would be, but I know for sure that he's a really good football player.
All right, Mr. Wolf, you're all set. Complete perimeter protection installed and monitored 24/7.
No matter who you root for, we can all identify with the best in smart home security. CPI Security is the official security and smart home company of NC State Athletics. CPI Security. Identify yourself.
Years from now, what will you remember? That. It's a small thing, but you know the small things in life feel the biggest.
I'm doing it, Dad!
Now that is something to remember.
It's the Get Holiday Ready sales event with the Ford crew.
Maverick, Ranger.
Another truckload of trucks?
Big event needs big selection. Right, like the Ford F-Series. Best-selling trucks for 47 years. Gas, hybrid, electric, and big selection means great deals. Exactly, which means it's the best time to buy. Well said, Sam.
Get 1.9 for 60 plus up to $6,500 total savings on a 2024 Ford F-150 Hybrid.
From protecting your teeth and gums, to restoring your smile, to sponsoring your local team, Tar Heel Periodontics is the premier periodontal practice of the Triangle community. Our team of highly skilled doctors provide dental care as individual as you are, working with you to build a personalized treatment plan to create the beautiful, healthy smile of your dreams. With offices conveniently located across the Triangle and Central North Carolina, you're never far from the Tar Heel Periodontics family. Visit our website or call now.
A hell of a football game, first of all, and proud of the way our guys played. I don't think there's a lot of teams that could go through what we've been through. We've had a lot of crazy stuff happen this year.
Welcome here to Chapel Hill and oppressively blue Kenan Stadium as we get set for the 114th meeting between the Pack and the Tar Heels. As we get set for the rivalry game, Johnny, a chance to bowl for the 10th time in the last 11 years and look back at what has been a tumultuous up and down season, and you go, you know what, you beat Mac Brown in his last ever game here.
This is a big incentive for NC State to win this football game for a lot of reasons, but not the least of which is to qualify for a bowl.
Anytime you go up against Carolina, too, it must win, right?
Their sole focus is wanting to beat their rival for the 4th straight year, to win in Chapel Hill again, just like the Ben Finley game 2 years ago. That is their sole focus. And yes, there's been a massive change in news this week in Chapel Hill with Mac Brown's firing, and Coach Dornan says that has no effect on us.
You got to experience your first North Carolina NC State football game in person as far as calling the game. What did you think? You had to like that.
Chippy. Well, I love the result. Love the result. Love the way the game went. Was very impressed by the road Wolfpack following there in Kenan Stadium. You could hear them, and I think that was really impressive. Frankly, there were some dirty plays in that game. I mean, those are two teams that don't like each other very much, and you can see it.
I think Coach Dorn had a smart plan going into the game the whole week. He said, no, this is a different game. It is a big game. I don't treat this one the same as the rest of them. It runs deeper, and you saw that from NC State from the very beginning to the very end. And I think, it allowed them to do what they had done at Georgia Tech, which scored 22 points in the final quarter, and have an opportunity to march down to erase the deficit. Didn't work at Georgia Tech. They were crushed. It did work against North Carolina. I think having gone through that at Georgia Tech helped them in that situation in Chapel Hill.
No doubt about it.
North Carolina snap back at the 21. Pressure from behind. Blindside pressure. Davin Van forces a fumble. NC State may have it. That ties the all-time single-season forced fumble record in Pack history. Davin Van, 6th of the year, and it's 1st and 10 inside the red zone for the Pack. Gibbs Smothers, plunges ahead, spins, leads, touchdown. 2 yards, Hollywood Smothers punches it in at 6-0 Pack. 3 targets to the left for Bailey. Snap, Gibbs now to Smothers, sprints for the crease of the 40. He puts the shoulders forward inside the 35, down to the 30, and the 29-yard line. An 18-yard burst by Hollywood Smothers. Bailey snap, quick flick down the seam, touchdown! It's a touchdown. NC State scores. Dante Daniels down the right seam. They quick snap it out of the huddle, and C.J. Bailey catches the Tar Heel D by surprise. Dante Daniels' first career touchdown catch, his 3rd catch all year. And the PAT can tie the game at 14:15 to play. 3 receivers right, 1 to the left for Bailey, takes the snap, airs it out, once the end zone, Concepcion, touchdown, 13 yards. NC State leads North Carolina with 8:01 to play. Bailey finds Concepcion at the far side of the end zone. Wide open as Concepcion beats the coverage, and Bailey hits his target. It's 26-23, 8:01 to play here in Chapel Hill. Snap is there, hold is down. Kick right to left is good for Vincent to make it 29-23. 2:37 to play. Griswold takes the snap, 4 targets to work with. Delayed shovel pass. Here's Hampton off to the races, 40, sprints 30. Watch out, he's at the 20. The defense converges inside the 10, and he's in. Touchdown. 1 point North Carolina lead, 30-29. Right, it's 1st and 20, ball at the 39-yard line for the Pack. Right hashes, minute to play. Snap, Bailey down by 1, airs it out. Right sideline, once Rogers, it is caught inside the 20. Wow. Noah Rogers in double coverage, puts the Pack inside the red zone. Drops it in the bucket, does Bailey. A perfect ball to Noah Rogers to the sky. scoring position with 52 seconds left. Snap, Bailey, handoff, Smothers, dives, touchdown! NC State scores 2 yards out. Hollywood Smothers. That does it. NC State has beaten North Carolina 4 consecutive years. The Wolfpack come out of the field and celebrate here in Chapel Hill. It's 35-30 the final.
It was great to see the result go the way you want it in Chapel Hill after a gut punch last Thursday in Atlanta. It makes me think back, Wake Forest, Syracuse, Georgia Tech. This is a 6-win team with 3 one-possession ball games that could have easily gone the other way.
You know, I look too at kind of a situation that developed during the year. I don't think many of us sitting here in the preseason thought that 16, the 6'7" skinny kid from Miami, would be the starting quarterback. But considering what this program has gone through in the last 5 years, you should expect something like that. They've only had 1 year where they've played one quarterback. C.J. Bailey is a true freshman, came in, and you just saw things develop. And I think a perfect example, you look at the first half at North Carolina, they were 3 for 8 in passing, obviously had some drops, but 19 yards passing. He was cooking in the second half, 11 out of 12, 223, and 2 touchdowns. So he didn't let one thing affect him negatively. And that's a great gift to have, particularly for a young quarterback as a freshman.
Pulse of the Pack is sponsored in part by Carolina Ford Dealers. See your Carolina Ford dealer, proud sponsor of NC State Athletics.
From protecting your teeth and gums, to restoring your smile, to sponsoring your local team, Tar Heel Periodontics is the premier periodontal practice of the Triangle community. Our team of highly skilled doctors provide dental care as individual as you are, working with you to build a personalized treatment plan to create the beautiful, healthy smile of your dreams. With offices conveniently located across the Triangle and Central North Carolina, you're never far from the Tar Heel Periodontics family. Visit our website or call now.
It's the Get Holiday Ready sales event with the Ford crew.
Maverick, Ranger.
Another truckload of trucks?
Big event needs big selection. Right, like the Ford F-Series. Best-selling trucks for 47 years. Gas, hybrid, electric, and big selection means great deals. Exactly, which means it's the best time to buy. Well said, Sam.
Get 1.9 for 60 plus up to $6,500 total savings on a 2024 Ford F-150 hybrid.
Mr. Wolf, you're all set. Complete perimeter protection installed and monitored 24/7.
No matter who you root for, we can all identify with the best in smart home security. CPI Security is the official security and smart home company of NC State Athletics. CPI Security. Identify yourself.
Pulse of the Pack is sponsored in part by Coca-Cola. Crisp, refreshing, and irresistibly tasty. Is Coke Zero Sugar the best Coke ever? Try and decide.
Rodgers had in his mind the drop at Georgia Tech, a drop at North Carolina in the first half, and Bailey showed trust in him. I have trust in you. I'm going to throw the ball. You're right. That was as beautiful a ball as you could want, and it just fell in the bucket between 4 flailing arms from North Carolina, and Noah made a great catch. And I think that propels his confidence that I can make these kind of plays, and I think it's going to help him moving forward.
And you want to see that now for 12 more games. My first thought when I saw, all right, 6-6, I'm thinking about the post game. We're processing it live with everybody on the air. We're trying to decompress and go through the stats and think about what happened. And all I could think is, I want to see it again in a bowl. I want to see these. Okay, so they've figured that out. Well, let's see what happens now and wherever it might be. Tampa, Detroit, Annapolis, Birmingham, I don't know. Wherever we find out on Sunday, team's going to bowl, that's great. Let's get some more practices in and And C.J. Bailey's deep ball has improved. He wasn't the starter at the start of this year, right? And now buckle up. Look, signing day is Wednesday of this week. You've got the portal that opens up the following week officially. There's still some names are already being injected into the portal nationwide, and you just don't know, right? Either way, you don't know any. So judgment needs to be reserved. You wait for spring ball, you wait for fall camp, you see who's playing hard, who's practicing hard. And C.J. Bailey practiced his tail off. And we have seen the fruits of that.
You bring up the portal, you bring up signing day. With the fluidity of the whole situation, I mean, what happens during this time period? How far back did it go? So the roster management starts where the Coach Doran and some of his staff will meet with the collective. They have a list. These are our priorities. These are the guys that we want to, quote, keep here in this order. And I would think C.J. Bailey would be at the top of that list.
Yep.
And I would think Hollywood Smothers would be on that list. I would think Justin Joe Lee would be on that list. Noah Rogers put himself on that list with that game in Chapel Hill. So while I know a lot of time fan bases really freak out about who's leaving, coaches are more concerned about who's here and who do I have. And that's been Dave Doran's MO since he's been here.
No doubt. And there were portal players who left in the portal who you thought you may have been heartbroken about that wound up not doing what they wanted to do wherever they landed, and vice versa. And it's an unpredictable, chaotic world. And there are players who've entered the portal and then come back.
Aiden White.
And not gone anywhere. So judgment needs to be, it's hard to not be reactionary, and that comes with passion, and that's a good thing. The enemy of this is apathy. So when your passions are inflamed, it's great. But it is hard to keep a level head. But when you see how the sausage is made, and you see the hard work at practice, the things that aren't talked about on the hot days on the sled with Coach Wiles screaming at you, and we're looking at Travali Price going, gosh, he looks great. Well, he got banged up against Tennessee.
That's right.
Right? And he gutted it out, and he played with a bad foot against Tennessee. How big a difference has he made in the back end of the year? He's had tackles for loss about the last month every game, and he was not able to do that early in the year. We saw a lot more in Noah Potter. Noah Potter had a pass broken up. He did a great job in Chapel Hill. Like, they all have their moments, but it just takes some time sometimes, and that's way easier when you go to practice and you have the access. But that's what we're trying to relay, is it can't just be reactionary. And it's hard to not be judgmental about it. But you're right. If Concepcion wants to go somewhere else, and Coach Doran, he's going to figure out, there's a lot of wide receiver talent on this team. If Concepcion winds up coming back and goes, hey, you know what? I made a mistake. I love it here. I want to be here. I highly doubt they'd go, nah. Everybody wants to hug KC, and so you wish him well on his way, or you figure it out. It is super, super fluid.
And I know 6 is not the number of wins NC State fans were looking for, but 6 is an extraordinary number when you talk about the number of forced fumbles that Davin Vann had. 6 on the year, tied the school record. He had a lights-out year that will be remembered for a long time around here with the impact that he made.
Well, his specialty is endurance. I mean, if I think of Davin Vann's one quality, if an NFL scout came to me and said, hey, you've been at practice, and he's a very loving kid and obviously a passionate competitor, and I'd say maybe the number one microcosm is what he does in the fourth quarter.
Yes.
Is how he endures the game and wears the other team down and then explodes. That's when he produces. And that's what you want. You want a fourth quarter guy, and that's Davin Vann.
Well, a lot can happen between now and bowl season. We don't know who, where, when, or why, but we know, yes, NC State will be going bowling.
I have an unpopular opinion about bowl games. I like them all. Sure. I like all of them. Football is fun. I'd do more bowl games.
Well, you made it through your first football season, Chaz.
I know.
At least until the bowl.
Sure.
Congratulations,
Thank you,
brother.
brother.
Folks, we appreciate you listening. Have a great one.